Alright, welcome back to Physio Rehab. Now today's session is about the lower trap. Now this is really good for people who are really upper trappy and they don't have too much lower traps. Sometimes these people also have serratus anterior problems. So if you're one of those people that have winging or serratus problems, you've probably also got a bit of lower trap weakness because they go hand in hand. I'm going to give you 3 exercises today that are going to help with that. So first one is a one-arm skydive. That's what we call it. So with Michelle here, if you go flat for me, Michelle, if she's doing one hand at a time, this right shoulder, you've got to think, remember the lower traps is coming from the shoulder blade down towards the spinal angle like that. So we want her moving her shoulder blade in the same direction, which will fire it the best. So she's going to try and lift her shoulder blade, or think about lifting her shoulder blade over towards her opposite hip. Okay, so if she thinks about where the direction she's going, because she can't see it, so if you lift that for me, Michelle, she's going to lift that shoulder blade just to start with. So just lifting that scapula in a direction of her left hip. Then she's got to try and put some load on it. So you raise your hand for me. There you go. So there's a little bit of load where she's working to hold that isometrically in that position. So this is like an isometric hold for her lower trap. Yes, she's got a bit of rhomboid, she's got a little bit of rotating up, but it's trying to bias that position of that lower trap. Then she externally rotates to get a little bit more rotator cuff, and she's going to reach for her foot. So if she externally rotates that way, so remember thumb outwards and upwards, all right, then she's got to think about, to get a wee bit more depression, which is that lower trap movement down there, she's going to think about reaching towards that foot down there, and you'll see that shoulder blade move. Now of course you're going to get a little bit of Latin there, but because you're not gripping, it's more about the lower trap and more about the scapula coming down than it is about the arm coming down. Okay, so that's an iso hold. So isometric holds that maximal squeeze down here without overcompensating, about 10 seconds of that. You're trying to do 10 or 20 of those. And now that's a really good isometric entry level stuff. All right. Then we're going to move to more of a movement based one. So come on up here, Michelle. So what you then want to aim for is to try and do a scapular row. Pop that in that hand for me. So the scapular row is a little bit different to a one-arm row, because your one-arm rows you're going to bend, you're going to use your lats. We don't want to do that. So with the scapular row, you're just thinking the shoulder blade is going down. Okay, yes, you're going to do a bit of retraction, so a little bit of rhomboids, but remember, rhomboids come in this direction. Okay, so if you're just using rhomboids and you're not using lower trap, what's going to happen is when you pull, your shoulder's going to go up and you're going to fire your upper trap. This is where the upper trappy people come in. So if you're one of those people, when you pull back and you come up, this one's for you. So this elbow has to stay straight. This tension here can't be too much. If it's too much, you're going to start bending your elbow or you're going to overcompensate. So don't have this too heavy. But for her, think of the anchor point through the hand, through the elbow, through the shoulder as one sort of straight line. So when you pull down, you don't want to be doing that. You want to be going down on that angle that way. All right. So when she pulls down, she's got to think about this shoulder blade again. Same drill, coming towards the opposite hip. So she pulls that down and back in that direction, and then you know if that shoulder blade's coming down and in a bit, you're going to be working that lower trap. All right. So reaching right forward to the top. So when she goes forward, her shoulder blade goes up. All right, so she, in this position, if the hand's up, shoulder blade's up, then she pulls that whole thing down and she's got to focus on not bending the elbow. Great. So that's a really good, again, sort of next level up where you're using your lower trap. There's not too much load, but you're isolating it, but you're actually moving the shoulder blade now, okay, and you're doing not a static isometric contraction, you're trying to work on a dynamic movement there, all right, and then we're going to make it even harder. So third thing I want her to do is use a foam roller. So come over here, Michelle. So the foam roller one is, again, this is the easy stuff you can do at home or do in the gym. Both hands on that for me, Michelle. Yep. She's going to now try and roll that roller, but there's a few things you've got to think about before you do this. Hands a little bit wider than the shoulders, thumbs sort of facing up. Make sure you clear any impingement problems you've got going on there. Now, most people, when they roll this roller, they'll lift their spine up, they'll start arching through here, they'll arch their lower back, and they almost do a thoracic extension, which is what we don't want. So to stop that, she's got to then tilt her pelvis back a little bit to neutral, turn her core on, hold that on, turn her glutes on if she needs to, and she's got to think about both shoulder blades this time coming down and like a V. Okay, so if those shoulder blades are sort of coming towards this part, this shoulder is coming towards here, she's going to try and roll that roller like a lat pull down, but again, elbows can't bend, all right? So try that one for me, Michelle. So she pulls down quite nicely, that's quite good. And then she rolls it forward and lets her shoulder blades go up and forward, all right, like that. And then when she rolls the roller, she's got to think, okay, I've got to pull these down to roll the roller. So rather than your hands rolling the roller, because you'd end up just bending your elbows, she's using her shoulder blades to roll the roller. So a little thing to think about when you do that is pull your shoulder blades to pull the roller. Okay, so do that again for me. Pulling down, coming into that V, and just stopping at the point where she thinks she's going to start doing too much thoracic extension there. All right, again, really nice one to work on. Don't overcook it, you'll just start extending your back. But again, nice lower trap isolation, and that's a really good progression for someone who's got lower trap weakness. So give that a shot. See you next time.